Qarar Sahib, if I can go to you first to explain what Pashtunwali is, and then after that we'll go to Nangyal Sahib, and then we'll, if anybody wants to speak up, then we'll give them the mic. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kakar Sahib. The comments from Imran Khan lately, not just this comment, but also several other comments that he have lately made. First of all, the Pakistani officials have, every one of them have literally become a spokesperson and an advocate for Taliban, as if they don't have anything else to do. That's their sole job. They're fighting with people over Taliban. They're advocating for releasing Taliban funds. They're calling for recognition. Imran Khan has shown, but in addition to his unfair role of interfering in another country's affair directly, um, you know it's so naive of him. So many times, he last week had mentioned that Haqqani is a tribe in Afghanistan, and that shows, how limited he is, in knowing about Afghanistan. He doesn't even know that Haqqaniya is a madrasa in Pakistan, and that shows that he's naive about Pakistan too, not just Afghanistan. He also, the thing that he has mentioned today, even if we don't question his intentions of calling Taliban Pashtun nationalists, it shows his naiveness and his unawareness of the of both Pashtunwali and Taliban. Because if one thing that Taliban are against and that Taliban are fighting, that thing should be Pashtunwali. That should be the culture of Pashtunwali. They are against Pashtun nationalism. Those are the two poles of the war in that region, in those societies. There are two models, well-known models of deciding things in Afghanistan, and one is called Pashtunwali and the other is called Sharia. So if that much he would knew about Afghanistan or about the Pashtun society, he would have been clear about how Taliban are against Pashtunwali. Pashtunwali is it's a secular code. It's a local code of, and it has, it's not just a code of honor, but it has so many elements. There are 11 main codes. Some of these codes are separate institutions. For example, Jirga is one institution that we have derived from that huge code. Jirga is the higher authority of Afghanistan. It has been the highest authority of legal authority of Afghanistan, or legislative. And Jirga is derived from the Pashtunwali culture, but that's, as I said, just a small, tiny element from that huge code. There are other institutions included in Pashtunwali code, like for example the institution of Arbakis, which is like the armed wing of tribe. When tribal soldiers, dedicated soldiers, help governments with the security. That's a traditional institution of ANS, which is part of the Pashtunwali. There are peace and conflict resolution mechanisms in Pashtunwali, very rich ones. As you know, that peace and conflict resolution is one of the highly professional fields of studies nowadays. And Pashtunwali have gotten several codes of such. There is Maraka, as we know, there's Narkh, there are so many. And we have even during the recent decades, there has been huge wars that were avoided, because of those codes that were brought to practice. Like, for example, the war between Jalalabad Shura and Ahmadzis. It could have been a very bad war, but it was avoided just because we had this system in place, which which actually was useful and worked. So he's not just we can also question their intentions, because Pakistan has been trying to um, give Pashtuns representation to Taliban so that they can get a local legitimacy. And for that reason, there were 4,000 Pashtun tribal elders who were mainly interpreters of Pashtunwali code, were assassinated by the Pakistani secret agencies. More than 1,700, I think, on the other side of the Durand line, and on in tribal belt, and 4,000 on this side of Durand line, and that was solely for the purpose of replacing the secular nationalist Pashtun leadership with these religious clergies, whom he now calls as to be the representatives of Pashtuns. And if this war is about narratives, we all know that the Pashtun narrative is against the Pakistani narrative, because that's a big threat to Pakistan, because Pakistan is built on Pashtuns' lands, partly, and Pashtuns, if they get power, if they get they will assert their right over that land again. So the Pashtun narrative is against the Pakistani narrative in principles. And that's what all Pashtun nationalist movements are about. Pashtun nationalist movements that have worked in that capacity for centuries now, for decades now, I would say. They were all based on, confronting this other narrative that was mainly brought or supported by the Muslims of subcontinent, to use Pashtuns, against